You're a speaker, you're a coach, you're a facilitator, you cover topics like team building, communication, time management,
Absolutely.
all important things. That's Alana Peters today.
Yes.
But tell us the story of what led you to today. Where you are, what you do, and why do you do it?
Yeah. Well, so I had a hard journey getting here. I was a teacher. I was a teacher for about 25 years in a variety of communities, primarily in Alberta. And teaching was great. And I thought I would always be a teacher. I thought of myself as a teacher. And then about 6 years ago, I had a really bad accident. I was training for a triathlon, and I woke up on the morning of May 16th. And I started with a swim, a 2-kilometer swim, went on a nice 10K bike ride, and then I was going to go to my daughter's track and field meet. And she was at the triple jump event, and I saw her do her triple jump, and I said, "Hey, sweetie, why don't you try it this way? If you back up just a little bit and run really fast, you'll go a lot farther." And so I said, let me show you what this looks like. So I backed up, and at full speed I took off, but the marker that was marked there was marked for grade 5 children. And so my hop, the triple jump is hop, step, jump, and my hop took me all the way to the sand pit. And so what happened was my foot, as I landed, my foot stuck in the sand, and the rest of me just kept going, is really what happened. And so I ended up with a massive compound fracture. There was a 20 centimeter opening at the base of my leg and my ankle, and it changed my life. It really, really altered my life. I was living in Hinton at the time, which is 3 hours away from a hospital that can deal with that. So it was pretty scary. They weren't sure whether I was actually going to be able to keep my foot, because it was completely severed other than some parts.
So the foot was just hanging on.
It was just hanging.
Oh.
Yeah, my Achilles tendon saved my foot from hanging on completely. So anyway, I couldn't teach anymore after I had the accident, because extended periods of time on my feet were impossible.
Yeah.
And so I knew I wanted to still do some things that with people. You know, I love kids, but I really love watching people have aha moments. And so I had a friend who invited me to have a bit of a coaching conversation. And from that moment on, I was addicted to what a coaching conversation looks like and sounds like. And so anyway, I ended up applying to go to Royal Roads University and having a really powerful experience there. So that was how I went from teaching to coaching. Bad accident, but with a great ending.
Okay,
yeah.
Great endings are wonderful. It seems like there are, in many of our lives, sort of a catalyst, something that happens.
Absolutely.
And for you, it was that accident that day. I can't imagine. I mean, speaking to you now, what I'm feeling as you're telling me what happened to your foot. You know, what do you remember about? Do you have a recollection of how you felt? Sometimes it's a little too much to take in when an accident happens directly to us. There must have been just a wealth of feelings and emotions that you must have been going through.
It was surprising, actually.
What do you remember about that?
The crazy thing about it was that I had a very kind friend who was there. This was a school track and field meet. And my friend, a fellow teacher, blocked me from seeing what had actually happened to my foot. And so I didn't know. And so I asked him, how bad is it? And he said, I don't really know. And so I didn't really know, even until I came home from the hospital, what had really, really transpired. Because very shortly after the accident, you know, medicated and
Of course.
and the medical team took
Yes.
over. So,
course.
but you know, a lot of the really deep feelings, a lot of the really deep hard stuff, that came after as I was recovering, because I realized what I was losing. Because I was a hiker, I was a biker, I was a swimmer. You know, like I said, I was training for a triathlon. We lived in Hinton, which meant that I loved to mountain climb and do some fun things. Like that was a big part of our family life, and that really was completely altered.
Yeah, and I think when those catalysts, those events happen, that when that realization sinks in that this was life before and this is life now, what will life be next?
Absolutely.
That must have had you just really searching yourself too, and trying to kind of find a new maybe identity or
For sure.
way of moving forward.
I had to really get clear with what I was afraid of. And I lived for about 6 years with constant pain. And now, pardon me, now not so much, because I just had surgery in November where my ankle has been fused. But I really had to discover who I was and who I wanted to be. And pain was, not something I could be afraid of anymore, because it was something I lived with. And so...
At what point did you, or have you yet, I think you probably have, come to appreciate that event in your life?
I think it was gradual, but just in the last couple of years, there's just been such an acceptance of the fact that this is what is. And to fight it feels pointless. And so I have a new normal, and I have less pain now thanks to the surgery, so that does make things easier. But I'll never be able to, climb a mountain again. So, but there are lots of other great things I can do. So that's what I want to invite other people into, because I know that I'm not alone. Every one of us has a story. Every single one of us has a story of something that we want to do. And maybe we're being held back by some internal conversation, maybe an event in our life, maybe a habit.
So can you look back, do you think, and see it as a bit of a gift?
Oh, more than a bit. Yeah. I know that it serves me well in my relationships with others, as well as my relationship with myself. I'm far kinder to myself now than I was 6 years ago. Far kinder.
We put a lot of expectations on ourselves, don't we?
Yeah. I didn't know I was a perfectionist. I had no idea. And so, perfectionism didn't serve me well.
Yeah.
And I actually think I'm thinking that perfectionist tendency probably even led me to that place of actually having that accident.
Sure, you were helping your daughter to...
I wanted her to do her
Perfect,
absolute
yes.
best. And so, well, if I could take back any 30 seconds, though, I'd do it.
You should.
But
Life
anyway.
is a good teacher sometimes.
Yeah, a very effective teacher.
If you're willing to be a good student, which you certainly are. So how do you get from these, maybe what someone would call an undesirable circumstance, something you would prefer not to happen, and things happening in your life, sometimes we have loss, to where you are and what you teach now? Tell me a little bit more about that path.
That path was really gradual. Like I said, decided to go to Royal Roads to take the coach training, and that was so powerful.
And it was a friend that told you about the program specifically?
Yeah.
Great.
And so, premier program in all of North America for coach education, and meeting the cohort there and interacting with them on so many topics was just really revolutionary for me. And so Royal Road, certainly my faith is a huge catalyst for change and reflection. And on top of that, right after I finished my coach training, I began a journey with an organization called The Daring Way. And it's an organization founded by a lady named Dr. Brene Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And she has written 3 New York Times bestseller books and has facilitators all over the world like me. And we facilitate work about courage and vulnerability and trust and empathy. And we do some amazing workshops. We have the opportunity to work with people about some fantastic topics. And by doing the deep dive into that material, I was just so able to really process my own story.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of being hard on myself, I would recognize perfectionism for what it was. And I stepped into something that was much kinder, and that was self-compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never be the same.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is courage, because courage is so fun. It's so fun.
Great. So you've mentioned a few really key points here that kind of fall into that category of emotion. So courageousness and empathy.
Mm-hmm.
But there's another side to that, the opposite perhaps, or the flip side of those emotions, where a lot of people might be sitting right now in their lives as they're watching this. What would you, how can you speak to that a little bit, maybe coming from that point? What's the bridge between feelings of courage and compassion? Maybe we're not starting there. How do we bridge that?
Yeah, we certainly don't start there, especially after an accident like mine where, there's a lot of loss. There are dark emotions. There's grief and disappointment, frustration. Those are real. And one of the powerful things that I learned through taking the work through the Daring Way is that if we deny those dark emotions, they'll define us.
Mm-hmm.
And so to allow yourself to feel those things doesn't stifle them. And so finding a place where you feel safe to experience those emotions, even acknowledge them. But sometimes we don't even know that we're feeling those things because we're so accustomed to shutting those off. So just becoming aware of your emotions, noticing, is actually the first step.
Yeah.
Noticing my grief was the first step in healing for me. And then I could choose to feel it and step into something new when I felt that I could move on into something new.